guys, welcome to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time, just like wine does. This week we have Sarah, and if you're watching and looking at the title, you might recognize the last name. She's married to Ian, so got both of them on.
That's me.
Yeah, so this week we're going to do a sweet white, actually, Muscat-Canelli. And I finished last week the Italian wine, so this is going to be all different type of wineries that I handpicked out. But this bottle says, with a poetic nose of orange blossoms and rose petals and aromas of fresh citrus and stone fruits, Muscat-Canelli is as close as you can get to capturing an array of springtime sunshine in the glass.
Okay, fancy.
Sourced with the cool back roads of Mendocino County, this delicately sweet sipper is to consummate brunch or patio wine.
Consummate brunch. The wording here is impeccable. I love it.
I'm down for some springtime sunshine.
Cheers. Oh my goodness, smells good. Wow.
Do you like it?
I love it. It's really good. You could definitely taste the citrus.
Yeah.
It's good. This is definitely one I would buy.
I'll show you the link after where I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely good with brunch, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Move my mic a little closer.
That's really good. Okay, I'm gonna drink the whole thing.
If you want more, go for it.
Okay.
So, Sarah, if you remember audience, if you remember from the last episode, Sarah and Ian have two beautiful baby girls.
That we do.
Yeah. How old are they now? I'm losing track. They're growing up so fast.
They really are. They're getting so tall, so quick. Scarlett, who's the eldest, she's 3, and then Gia is 2.
Oh my God.
And yeah, they definitely act a lot older than they are, but yeah. Time flies, really. You really don't understand that, until you have kids. But people always say, time flies. They grow up so quick. And it's you look at them one day, and they're just tiny little babies, in their swaddle. And then the next, they're running around and got all the sass in the world. So it's just crazy.
Some of the videos you post of Scarlett where she's, with her glasses and her purse.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, she's the biggest girly girl.
Yeah?
Yeah, nail polish, purses, shoes, everything. She loves to go shopping already.
Dang. Oh, my goodness. Does Gia already have, her personality?
Yeah, definitely. I think she has a bit more of my personality, where Scarlett's super outgoing and friendly, and Gia's a little more shy at first, but then once she opens up, you can't get her to stop talking. So, so yeah, it's definitely fun to see them come into their own character.
I remember when you guys got engaged, and then right after announced you're pregnant with Scarlett, and then you guys announced that you're having Gia. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it was definitely crazy. It was not planned that way, but I think God's timing is always perfect.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
It happened the way it was supposed to, and we knew that we wanted to be with each other already. So I think that kind of helped, because obviously we would want to get married first, then have a kid. And I know people have views on that, but the fact that we were in love, we knew that we wanted to have kids with one another. That was our plan all along. It didn't really make a difference at that point. So
yeah, and whether you're religious or not, again, timing is everything. And if you are religious or have faith, you trust in God. He has this plan, and He brought those little girls for a reason.
Definitely. It's hard to get pregnant. So the fact that we did, I was what doesn't make difference whether we're married right now or not. Mm-hmm. I know we had a lot of pressure from family members and stuff. Oh, you need to get married right away. It's that's not why we're getting married, Yeah. That's not the point. So we definitely waited. We didn't rush it. We waited till after she was born. Then we got married.
Your guys' wedding was great.
It was a lot of fun. I'm so happy you were there.
Yeah, it was so fun.
It was a great time. Yeah. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Some of the one of the topics we wanted to discuss, you sharing, was postpartum and all that. And so I don't know much about it personally, but from what I do know, it's a very serious thing that isn't talked about much, or people will downplay it a lot.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. Well, I guess we could just jump right in there. Sorry, it's hard to talk about, but it's so important to be able to have that vulnerability and talk about these hard things that most people, they just keep inside. And I feel like that was one of the things for me that led it to be a lot worse than it could have been if I would have just spoken up sooner. But basically, for me at least, I think everyone has different variations of postpartum depression. But, it, you know, like you get really emotional, like you're crying a lot, like a lot of the things that wouldn't be a big deal before, they're like a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult for me. It got to a point where I was like suicidal, you know, like I was that depressed and I thought it was normal. And it wasn't, because when you're pregnant and even after pregnancy, you have all these different symptoms that you've never had in your life. And you'll tell your doctor, or you tell other people, and you're like, oh no, that's normal. It's because you're pregnant, or it's because you just had a baby. Even though nothing feels normal, you know? Yeah. So I didn't speak up soon enough. And then by the time I did, like it was already, you know, to a point where it could have gotten better if I had started taking like antidepressants and stuff. But yeah, it was really scary because I started having postpartum depression after Scarlett was born. And since we had the babies so close together, I think that was another factor that made it like worse, I guess. Because your body doesn't really have time to recover with all the hormones and just getting back to normal. And so I was pregnant with Gia when I was going through all of this. So it was really difficult having those thoughts and like battling with yourself internally. Because obviously you love your kids, you love your husband, you love yourself, yet you're having these thoughts and it's really scary. So it was a really difficult time for me. And I'm glad that I eventually spoke up and told my doctor, and she was like, well, hold on, this is serious. Yeah. And that kind of helped me realize, oh, this is a lot more serious than I thought it was. But yeah, that's just some of what I've been going through. And I just think it's so important that people can speak up and not be scared to say things. Don't like try to hold it in and deal with it yourself. It's okay to ask for help. But yeah, that's just some of my stuff.
Well, thank you for sharing and thank you for being willing to share, because I only know so little from what I see from the YouTubers that like briefly touch about it. Can you explain more like what exactly postpartum is for people that aren't really familiar with it?
Right. Yeah. So many different terms. Yeah. Basically, postpartum is that stage after you have a baby, after childbirth, where your body is kind of like getting back to normal. You're recovering from, you know, baby coming out. There's a lot. It's very difficult having a baby. I would never downplay it. Yeah. People always talk about the after and how it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful moment. I'm not gonna argue anyone on that. It is a beautiful moment, but it is also the most difficult time of your life. It's very, very painful.
The recovery time, it's like,
oh, it's a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's so much blood. There is really. For some people, I think they have less, but for me, I definitely bled consistently, like a period for like a month.
Oh, wow.
And then usually when you're breastfeeding a baby, you don't get your period back.
Right.
But Scarlett had such a huge appetite that I couldn't keep up with her. So I was giving her formula and breastfeeding at the same time. And so my period came back right away. I didn't get a break. So I was bleeding constantly for like 2 months.
Wow.
So it's different for everyone. It's definitely, it's a lot though. I would never downplay pregnancy.
That's why I'm like, right now, I'm like, I'm definitely not ready. I would like to do that when I'm ready, but right now, like, not quite there yet.
Right.
And I think people don't realize like how much it takes to grow a human. Like, obviously, I don't know, I'm no expert, but like it takes a lot of energy, your hormones, and then like going to postpartum depression, and like your body's just trying to like regulate what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, definitely. It's a roller coaster, to say the least. Yeah. And it's good to have a good support system. Make sure you have the right doctors, and don't be scared to ask for help. Like, you know, if you need it, you need it. And there's no shame in that.
What was the process like of once you finally realized, okay, I need to talk to my doctor, I need to speak up? And you, after talking to your doctor, what was the process of like trying to regulate that for you?
Okay, so for me, I remember I went into the doctor and I was having my regular checkup, checking the baby and this and that, make sure everything's normal. And, I think the doctors, they don't really ask these questions either, which would kind of be a good segue into like, hey, yeah, I have been feeling like this or that. So I like finally worked up the courage to, at the end, they're kind of like, okay, we'll see you next time. And I was like, wait, hold on. Like I'm really shy in that way. I don't really speak up for myself. But I was telling her like, I've been really depressed lately and I've been having like suicidal thoughts. And she was like, she took a step back and she just looked at me. She's like, oh my goodness, this is serious. This is,
Yeah.
not normal. Because I was asking her, I was like, is this normal? Because it seems like everything that I've been going through, it's like, oh, it's just pregnancy. Oh, it's just because you had a baby. And so she had me take a questionnaire to kind of determine how bad it was. And so after I took that and she looked over the results, she was like, okay, so I'm going to need you to go into the ER. And so we went into the ER like right after that. And like they kind of took everything away from me. Like they're like, you can't even wear your bra because there's sharp objects and stuff in it.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of like really, really difficult for me. And it helped me realize how serious it actually was. And, having to talk about what was your thoughts? Like, how far did you think into this and stuff? It was really difficult to talk about without crying and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in the ER for a few hours, and then the doctor, she prescribed me Zoloft to start trying, which they did a small dose, and then your body kind of has to adjust to taking that stuff, and then they up the dosage. But yeah, it was basically just coming in more regularly to talk about these things, and then taking antidepressants to help. And I could definitely tell, like, if I forgot to take it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it helped a lot. So
I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also really happy to hear that you finally were able to talk about it, because especially when you're shy and anxious,
right,
you don't want to like put it on other people, or you think
Right.
like, oh, am I making this a bigger deal than it actually
Exactly.
is?
Yeah. So that was the hardest part, was just saying something. And then once that came up, it was just like the floodgates were open, and you're just like, okay, well, now we're dealing with it head on, So
when you finally got pregnant again with Gia and postpartum Gia, like what were some things was all of this after you had Gia, or was this in between?
So I was kind of, I didn't realize it was postpartum depression after Scarlett. I just thought it was normal. You're a new mom. You're not getting a lot of sleep. Like taking care of a newborn is a lot of work. So I didn't realize I had postpartum depression with Scarlett, but I definitely did. And since we got pregnant very close together, I was 5 or 6 months pregnant with Gia by the time I actually spoke up and told the doctor. So it was definitely really scary having those thoughts and being pregnant and having a newborn and worrying about how this is affecting your husband. And it was a lot of breakdowns, a lot of hard nights, but and also like trying to keep it together for your kids, because you don't want to put that on them. They're so young and receptive to those kinds of things. Even if you're not talking about it, or you're trying not to cry in front of them, they can feel it. So that was the other hard thing. I would try and hold it all in until night when they were like asleep, and then it would kind of get worse at nighttime, where I felt like I can actually let out some of those emotions. So
what would be some things as the girls get older that you'd want to let them know, or remind them, when it comes to needing to speak up about your mental health, or like when it comes to sharing? What would be something you'd want to like make sure they remember?
I think it's so important to be able to have that dialogue with your children. Growing up, my mom also dealt with depression, but in a very different way, where they didn't really talk about it. You would just kind of see it. So I think it's important to show your emotions to your children, let them see it, let them know it's okay, but also show them like a good way to kind of maneuver through these emotions, because it's hard. And as kids, they have these emotions and they don't really know what it is. So being able to explain to them like, this might be what you're feeling. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to cry. But we have to figure out a way to get past it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just a dialogue you have to have with your kids. Like, you know, some people say, like, your children shouldn't cry, or your boys especially shouldn't show emotion. And I don't feel like that's healthy whatsoever. Like, we're humans. These are emotions that we have. We need to be able to let them out in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Growing up, I grew up in like a very toxic household. My mom was very unhealthy. She dealt with her own mental health issues, but was the type of person that didn't want to acknowledge it in any way.
Right.
And so ever since I was born, her and I were never close. And I remember my first time actually being suicidal. I was 6.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so at 6, you don't know what these thoughts are or what it means. But I just remember being 6 and thinking, like, I don't want to be here anymore, you know?
That's so scary.
And scary. And so, again, like, having that dialogue, that's why I'm so thankful that I was able to talk to my dad about these things, because I don't think I'd be here if I didn't, you know?
Right.
Like, thank God my dad is able to, like, be aware of, like, okay, there's something wrong, and, like, would be there for me the nights where I was just, like, not okay.
Right.
But yeah, again, the dialogue's so important.
Right. Do you mind me asking, like, at 6, like, I know you said it was toxic, but, like, what exactly, like, happened? I know it's hard to talk about, so if you don't want to.
No, it's okay. I haven't really spoke much specifics on the podcast, but I don't mind sharing, because one, it's like my story. I'm not ashamed of that. And also, I hope it helps people.
Right.
Well, from the get-go, my mom didn't want kids. That was her thing. And my parents got pregnant with me before they got married. Same that. So, but she's from Mexico. And honestly, we think it was like the ticket for her to come here. Because my dad was coming back here. And so from the get-go of, she just had me, she became a flight attendant. And so like my first year, my dad raised me. Because she would be gone. But she would have kind of like a treatment towards me very different from my brother. And I think this stems from her daddy issues, because her and her dad weren't close, but me and my dad were. Okay. Where they like kind of like make some jealousy thing.
Yeah.
And so there would be things where like she wouldn't talk to me for months. Like she wouldn't feed me, like no affection, but show affection to my brother in front of me.
That's so rough.
Yeah, so I had to deal with this up until 19.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's really difficult. And so, you know, I think that's why I'm always very passionate when it comes to like mother-daughter relationships, or just parent and kid relationships, because I know how it is when a parent hasn't taken care of themselves. Right. And it comes onto your kids. Definitely. You know? Yeah.
Or it definitely passes on to them.
Yeah. And so for me, when she finally left the picture, when my parents got divorced at 18, 19, I was like, I'm not carrying all of this family baggage or energy that she has with me, because I don't want to continue that in the cycle. So I had to cut ties with her. I'm not speaking terms with her anymore, but it was one of the things where it's like, this is a boundary I need to set for myself. Right.
For your well-being. Yeah. Like you need to set those boundaries. Yeah. No, that's so important. I know those things are hard, especially when you feel like, oh, it's my family. It's still my mom. I got to do this. I got to do that. But like, honestly, if it's not helping you in any way and it's bringing you down, it's just something you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't agree with this, but I think my biggest pet peeve is when people would tell me, well, she's still your mom.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, my opinion on it is anyone could be a biological mother and father. Like any two people could do the dirty and have a kid. But it takes like a different type of person to actually put in the time and parent and be there, you know?
Right. Yeah, you can still be the mom, but if you're not actually doing the actions and putting in the work, are you actually a mom?
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I definitely agree with that 100%. Yeah. That's crazy. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. At a young age, that stuff like really sticks with you, and it's hard to get past those things. Yeah. You know? Like, what kind of things did you do to, like, help get past those? Because I feel like no matter what you do, they just come back.
Oh, you know? Man, I don't think I've really been able to get past it up until when my mom left. Like I've always dealt with depression since 6. And the reason why I remember I was 6, I remember vividly we were walking to the car, my dad and I had just turned 6, and I was already feeling this way. And it, like, at 6 years old, I was like, wow, I'm like only 6 years old and I already want to die, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what helped me get past it, I think, which I wish I was, like, as a little kid, you don't know how to respond to trauma and, like, how to have coping mechanisms that are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of it was just me, like, very, like, tuning out of things, or, like, holding things in as a form of protection, because if I showed emotion, she would use that.
Right.
And so I felt, I felt like I had to, like, try to keep it together for so long. But then it becomes the thing where you just harboring all this, like, stress and stuff ends up getting dangerous.
Yeah.
In middle school, that's when I first started, like, self-harming and stuff. And that was a way of me coping with it, because at least I was like, well, at least I'm feeling something.
You're in control somehow.
Exactly. I'm in control of some pain, you know? And with high school, I think it was sometimes easier and sometimes very hard, of just, like, I was older, we would get more nasty fights and sometimes physical.
With your mom?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so, like, getting to go to school and kind of disappear and, like, pretend everything's okay and then having to come home. But, like, once we got to high school, she had mentally, like, physically checked out, so she'd just hide in her room all day. And so there'd be times where I wouldn't see her, but she would be around. So just very strange upbringing, for sure. Yeah,
no, that's super difficult. I mean, when you're growing up, there's so many different changes physically that you're going through, and you really need that stability, like, from your parents, from your family, from somebody, you know. When you don't get that stuff, it's really hard to get past, like. So I get you, like, 100%. Yeah. Like, everyone goes through something traumatic. We all have, like, our little stories that make us who we are, but, like, being able to move past it and grow from it, I think that's the biggest victory right there.
That's the reason why I started this podcast, because there was, like, an online group that I was seeing, and there was older women, like, in their 40s, saying they had issues with their mom, and they've never been able to talk about it with anybody. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm 24. I can't imagine having gone this far and not being able to talk about my problems with anyone. And so it really inspired me to, like, do the podcast, because everyone has something they're dealing with and they think they're alone, but they're not.
Right.
Not to discredit, but just to show, like, hey, there's support out there, and you're not crazy. Like, you know?
Yeah, definitely. No, I absolutely love that you're doing this. It's so important to talk about these things, like, normalize it in some way, because so many people just go through and, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, or, you know, either other people are downplaying it or you're downplaying it on yourself, and those things just kind of fester a little bit. So you gotta be able to talk about it and figure out a way to move on from it.
Yeah, absolutely. How would you say you are now with, like, your postpartum depression? Now your girls are getting so big.
I know. I definitely feel like a lot better. I was, like, taking Zoloft, like, was kind of hard for me, because it was hard to accept the fact that I needed help. But once I started taking it and seeing how, like, if I didn't take it, the repercussions, and, like, oh, I can feel all those emotions coming back that I don't want to have. So, like, I'm still taking it, and now I'm, like, a little nervous to stop taking it. But as long as it's helping you, like, I just had to come to terms with the fact that it's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay to take it. It doesn't make you weak, you know? Like, you're amazing for being able to do that, you know? And you kind of have to put those positive affirmations. If you're not getting it from other people, you need to do it yourself, you know? Because it has to come from within, so.
That's true.
But I do feel like I'm doing better.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah,
that's so important. And good for you too, for knowing, like, okay, this is something that helps, but, you know, like, it's okay, because some people get really intimidated by it. I know that's for me, for sure. I've never done antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication. And growing up too in, like, a religious household and, like, going to Christian schools all my life, they were very, like, anti this, like, just pray about it.
Yes.
Which,
oh yeah.
You know, if you're religious, like, I have my faith, I pray, but, there's certain things where, like, that's not gonna cut it. Like, if
Modern
you need
medicine is okay.
Yeah, like, it's made to help,
Right.
And so my biggest fear with that has always been, like, if I go on it, am I gonna have to take it forever? And, like, for me, that's kind of on the equivalent of birth control. Like, I got on it because, hormonal acne, I had really bad periods. And I've noticed there's one time where I took a gap on it and my anxiety, like, skyrocketed because my hormones were all out of whack. And, like, bad acne, like, my periods were lasting more than a week. And, like, okay.
Yeah. Something needs to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lot. It's okay to take medicine. I was definitely kind of grew up kind of similar. Maybe not as strict, but my family was kind of like, don't take medicine unless you really need it. Yeah. So you kind of like tough things out on your own. And maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't want to take Zoloft, because I felt like, no, I should be able to deal with this on my own. Like, I don't need that. But it's okay to need that, So if you need it, you need it. There ain't no harm in that. You need water, you need food. Sometimes you need antidepressants. That's okay.
Yes, I'm glad you said it. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Would there be anything else you'd share with women that are pregnant or just had a baby or going through postpartum depression? Is there anything you'd want to, like, let them know, or any last comments?
I think just the biggest thing for me is, like, you got to speak up for yourself, because only you know what's going on in your body and how you're feeling. So you just really got to advocate for yourself, even though it's hard sometimes, and you want to be strong. Like, you'll be even stronger if you feel 100%. So, yeah, that's my only takeaway. Good luck to all the women out there who are pregnant. You got this, mama. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, your kids are so cute.
Thank you.
Oh, they're so pretty.
They wanted to be here so bad.
Maybe after.
It would be way too loud. You guys wouldn't be able to hear anything. It would be a hot mess.
Has there been any stages where, from newborn, toddler, and now Scarlett's getting a bit older, like, different stages where you were, like, not expecting things, or?
That's a good question. I think they have a lot of sass. Unfortunately, they get it from me. I can take that. But I guess you kind of see where your own mom comes from sometimes, where you gave them a hard time growing up or this and that, and you can kind of see it in your kids now. You're like, oh, I see. My mom said I would go through this one day. So I guess I wasn't really expecting the gravity of the sass. But, they have really good hearts, and I think it's honestly kind of a good thing that they're able to stand up for themselves and speak their minds, and they're not weak, and they're not going to back down. Like, they know what they want. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, I guess. But just pray for Ian.
When they get older, oof.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian.
And now he has three sassy ladies in his life, so... But they're really good kids. Watching their milestones has just been one of the greatest things. And I'm currently staying at home with them full time. So I'm just grateful I get to see that. Because, you go to work and you're there basically half of your life, and you miss a lot of things. So I'm glad I'm able to be home and see all those little changes that happen. So.
No, that is a huge blessing. Yeah, because some people don't have the chance to do that. So, yeah. That's huge.
Definitely. I absolutely love it. I'm going to be sad when they have to go to school.
Oh, yeah. The first day of school.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to cry like a baby. It's going to be rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of to segue, another thing you're sharing was, like, self-esteem, and when you were younger, and you're sharing that your kids are very sassy and, like, aren't afraid. Can you explain more of, like, your experience from when you were, like, a kid or younger growing up, and now that you're a mom of two sassy ladies?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Self-esteem, I think, it's always at least been a struggle for me, and I find out that's the case for most people. They struggle a lot with having low self-esteem. I think for me, a big part of it was cultural. My family is Pakistani. I'm half Pakistani and half white. So there's kind of like a box or a mold you have to fit in as a woman, and as like if you were born male, like you have a lot more freedom and people aren't as hard on you. But when you're a woman, you have to do things a certain way. You can't be talking back to people. Like there's just certain things that you have to do, and then people are always like making inappropriate comments, I think. Like say if you have acne because hey, you're going through puberty, people are like, oh, what's that on your face? Oh, this and that. Like your face don't look great. You know, those little comments that they don't help. They really bring you down, especially when you're in a vulnerable state. And you're going through so much change already. You just need to be accepted and supported. So that's one thing that I'm going to take away, like to learn not to do, and to do right with my kids, to let them know that they are beautiful, they are loved, and not criticize every little thing. You know, whether people are commenting on your weight or your acne or this or that, you know, how you're acting, just your personality, just for being sassy, like, oh, you shouldn't, you should hold your tongue, you know. So those kind of things I think really kind of made me insecure and had a low self-esteem. Like I felt like I had to act a certain way to be accepted. So growing up, I had to kind of battle those things, and I'm still working on it. I personally do not feel like I'm beautiful or this or that. And Ian does his part to make me feel like I'm beautiful just the way I am, but I personally don't feel like that. So I know I need to do a lot more work on myself to just accept me the way I am. So yeah, it's a struggle for everybody. I'm sure like you've had your struggles as well.
And... Oh yeah. Growing up Mexican, you know, my dad was born here, like his dad was born here, my grandma's from Chihuahua, so very Americanized, but you know, still have your roots. But I'm thankful that he was here, because with like Mexican culture, machismo and toxic masculinity is such a huge thing. And my mom definitely brought that here, but in a way that was convenient for her, like machismo attitude.
Gotcha.
And so with Mexican culture, you always have to be dolled up. And so she would always want me to dress a certain way, always have like makeup done, this and that. And like I didn't want to. Like I didn't want to wear pink. I don't like the color pink personally.
Me neither.
But she would get upset about all these little things. And, you know, being closer to my dad, I definitely grew up more of a tomboy. Like I liked playing with my brother's Hot Wheels. Like I loved dinosaurs as a kid, you know? And so there was definitely a part where I felt like I wasn't girl enough. And I think growing up, I kind of resented that and gravitated more being the tomboy, playing football and all of these other things. And, you know, my mom was very opinionative about stuff, you know, like she would take food away from me because I was eating too much. Or like if I wanted extra something, like she would tell me no, and always make comments because, you know, I was a little pudgy, you know, at least I felt like I was. If you probably look pictures of me, like I'm average, you know, but I always felt like I looked gross. I was too fat. And growing up where I was the only Latina and it was all majority white girls, your body looks different naturally, you know, and so it was really hard to just kind of be okay with how I looked. Like I'm hairy, and so I would get comments.
That was another thing too.
Yeah, I'd get comments like my mom wasn't, but I am, and so like I'd get comments from like school, from her, all these other things, and so it took me a while, not up until I actually started going to festivals where I was really able to be comfortable with myself. And with festivals, it's very much you can dress however you want, and no one's judging you. On the contrary, if you dance really bad, people will hype you up because they think it's fun. Yeah. And so that's what actually like got me to be more comfortable with my skin. And I think as you get older too, you get to like grow into your body. And as a girl, when you're just in like puberty, things are so awkward.
Yes.
It's so weird.
It is 100%. It's the weirdest time of your life. I think that's what they made middle school for. It's that stage where you just don't look right. Like everything's changing.
I definitely looked like a clown.
Right.
I have big hands and big feet for my size. I'm 5'1", but like I wear 8.5 shoes, and my hands are bigger than some of my guy friends. And in middle school, I wasn't 5'1" yet, but I already had my...
Isn't it crazy? Like, how does biology work sometimes? I don't get it. Like,
so clumsy, uncoordinated, like just so cringy.
Yeah.
Another thing was like my eyebrows, because I naturally have thick eyebrows. This is
blessings.
You know, I'm really thankful now.
Yes.
But
before it was the thin eyebrows everybody wanted.
I'm glad that was before my time.
I
wasn't quite there yet. But like I'd get comments of like my eyebrows look like guy eyebrows.
Oh my goodness!
Like, would
People
start
are
having
so
to like
rude
pluck
sometimes.
them. I know. They're like, you should start plucking your eyebrows. And
Why?
I didn't. It never came across my mind to do that. And that night I went home, looked up YouTube videos, and started doing it.
Oh my!
Yeah.
That was something I would get from my family. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do your eyebrows. They're getting a little long." Or, you know, oh, those pores are not looking so great. Time for a nose strip, you know? It's like every little thing that you wouldn't normally criticize on yourself, other people are putting on you. And then you start nitpicking at yourself. And it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you shared of how you're going to do your best to do right with your girls, because
definitely
a lot of people don't realize the things they didn't like how their parents brought up, they end up doing it again.
Yeah. It's crazy how that works. It's kind of like, I don't know, your subconscious kicks in, and then you're just working off of something that happened a long time ago, and you don't even realize you're replicating something. But I definitely took note of that. Like, as I was growing up, I was like, I did not like this, you know, like mental note type of thing. Yeah, I don't want my kids to go through some of the stuff that I went through. So either you get a good example or you get a bad example. But either way, you learn from it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what my brother and I say. Like, even though we didn't grow up in, like, the ideal scenario, we definitely know what we don't want to do.
Right. Exactly.
Or how we don't want to act.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn something from it. That's the bottom line. And you're going to try and do better. I make a point out of that with my kids, because I was like, there's certain things I went through and I really don't want my girls to feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, if you would, like, I remember getting yelled at so bad one time by my dad because I was laughing and I was having a good time and I was like enjoying life and I was laughing really loud, and he would just like yell at me. He's like, shut up, you know, and like making me feel bad for enjoying life and having joy. So there's just certain things like that I'm kind of hypersensitive to about, especially like Ian's a little bit more strict and I'm a little, I guess, more, I don't know. We're strict in different ways.
Yeah.
But he kind of like gets on them hard because he was raised a certain way as well. And I think growing up as a boy, you're kind of raised a little differently than with girls. I was like, you kind of have to be a little more sensitive with girls, because I can see that they're kind of sensitive like me. I was like, you can't be so hard. Try not to raise your voice. I know you get upset, but that kind of reaches them on another level than it probably did with you. So I'm like, little things like that, I gotta check him, check myself, you know.
That's a really good point. You know, I think obviously masculine, feminine, they're complementary, and they're like, you have certain parts that the other person doesn't have and vice versa. And I definitely noticed that growing up with a single dad. There's certain things that I would see other girls have with like a relationship with their mom, or just like more awareness of things, and I'm completely oblivious because like my dad doesn't know to like talk to me about these things, or you know, like clothes or my hair, like nails. Like I had to do all of that practicing with him, and it was like the best that I got. Like it is what it is, you know. Or like exactly that with like the way you talk to your kids. Like I think my dad's done a really good job of treating my brother and I the same. You know, especially with like Mexican culture, machismo, of like not making me feel I'm secondary just because he's the man, my brother, and he has the last name to go for it, you know. But there is a difference that like my dad does have to talk to me a certain different way than my brother. Like I'm going to be a little more emotional, and that's totally fine, versus my brother's going to be a little bit more cold, and like that's totally okay.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, some men are a little bit more feminine or sensitive, which is nothing wrong with that. And some women are a little more masculine, have a little more testosterone, and that's fine too. But I can definitely see in my girls, they're a little sensitive. You know, they get upset over things. They have these emotions and they're not sure what they are or how to react to them. So I'm like, instead of just like raising your voice at them, just try and be the cool, you know, because I think that's what they need. Because raising your voice isn't really going to help all the time. There's a time and place for that. And I was like, I think with our girls, we just need to be a little bit more calm and, you know, whoosah type of thing, you know. But yeah, every kid is different. So you got to just figure out what works for them. And what works for Scarlett doesn't work for Gia. And what works for Gia doesn't work for Scarlett. So yeah, it's just important to know your kids and feel it out. There is no handbook. 100% no handbook. You just kind of do what you do and hope for the best.
My dad always joked with me that was just the guinea pig. Like, we're going to see what happens and hope for
You try your best, you know? I hope I do right by them. I really do. And I hope that the things that I went through, like, I'm not going to do that with them. And hopefully they'll come out better than me. Because I think I still turned out good no matter what I've been through. So I hope they turn out even better.
Yeah, I'm really liking this conversation with you sharing because it's so important. And, you know, especially like our peer group, not everyone's having kids right now. And they're not even in that like mindset. But I think it's just really important to listen and acknowledge like, oh, these are actually really important topics to hear and like, keep in mind, you know?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Some conversations just like surface level, but you gotta kind of dig in deep sometimes. And, you know, certain things I've been through you haven't, like, just listen, take notes, and, you know, with a grain of salt sometimes, or take the whole thing.
What are things from like when you were younger, like whether it was self-esteem or like mental health from now that you've seen a lot of huge growth or that you're proud of yourself from where you've come?
I think I think realizing myself. I went to therapy a couple of times. Once as like a kid when I was in high school, I had like, that was my first time having an episode of depression. And what caused that was I switched schools and we moved, and it was a really big change, and change is hard. And I had a really hard time with that, being like a freshman and going into a new high school. Everybody already has their friends. There's cliques. It was like a totally new neighborhood. Everyone was kind of like snobby and rude. It was like a rich neighborhood. And I was like, this is not for me. Like, I couldn't go to school. Like, I was just in bed all day crying, and like, I was just not myself at all. And because of that, I felt really bad how it affected my parents, because we moved back to our old house because of that, because I couldn't deal with the change. But I had to go through some therapy to kind of get over that. And journaling really helped me a lot, being able, because I'm not good at expressing myself most of the time. I'm doing pretty good right now.
I know. I'm like, yeah, what's happening?
Well, that's because I know you and like I feel a little comfortable, but I'm really not good at expressing myself. So journaling helped me a lot, being able to write down my emotions, not actually having to say it out loud, but get it on paper and still kind of have an outlet for it. And that's kind of something that I kept with me throughout the years. Even after I finished, you know, my whole episode and I felt back to normal, I still kept journaling. And I think that helped a lot. Just having some sort of outlet, whether it's art, whether you want to write or you want to go to therapy, you need antidepressants, whatever the outlet is, you have to release in some way. Exercise. Some people exercise. Yeah. That's their therapy, you know?
Yeah. I went to therapy for the first time. It's the one. Went to therapy for the first time this January. And I never went to therapy, one, because it was always like, you don't need therapy. Like, just pray about it, blah, blah, blah. But then I was like, I really do need to get it off my chest. I really do need to talk about this with someone who their job is just to listen.
Right.
And so the journaling has been huge for me. Just like actually letting it out on paper.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's really cool too, because then you get to like look back at what you wrote.
Yeah,
and
I love my journal.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I'll look back and see like, where was I at a year ago.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, like that's been a lot of growth. Or like you notice maybe patterns in the way you think about situations, and you get to realize, okay, what do I need to do to kind of fix that?
Definitely. Yeah, it's like your own documentation of your life.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome. I remember when I went to therapy that first time, I did not like my therapist at all. Like, you got to find someone that you can talk to, and I couldn't talk to her at all. And the only thing good I got out of that was she's like, okay, because we're not getting anywhere. Like, I was like a brick wall. I was not receptive to anything. I didn't want to share anything with her. But she's like, try writing things down. So that was the thing that I got from that. And that helped more than actually going to therapy. But I think if you find someone that you actually can open up to and feel able being vulnerable, you know, then that works. But if not, you know, there's different outlets too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physical exercise. I hate running. Like, I do not like running. Like,
I
cardio.
used to love that.
I cannot. I'll go hiking, but
Right.
if you want me to go running, no.
I mean, it's hard on your knees anyway, so you're probably saving your body.
Right? Yeah. Like, I'm releasing the stress and damage on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like now I do yoga, like 10 minutes in the morning, and
yoga.
just being able to stretch, and how there's actual stretches that release certain emotions or stress.
Tension in your body. Yeah.
It's crazy. And I always feel way better after.
Yeah. No, yoga is definitely probably one of my favorites. I used to like running a lot. Like, I used to do track and stuff, but yeah, definitely not at that stage anymore where I can just run anytime. Like, it takes a lot out of you. So there's different exercises you could do that will allow you to still continue with your day instead of just laying around on the couch after. But yoga is my top right there. If I'm doing any exercise, I'm like, yoga is the one. I just feel great after. I get a little meditation in there.
Yeah.
I don't do the thing, but you know. But yeah, I love it. It's really good.
My friend, he's been my bestie for like the past 7 years, but he really got into yoga, and so he was like, oh, like let's do yoga together. And now I'm like, oh my god, like I have to do it in the morning or I feel like not complete. I'm like, okay, my morning's off. Yeah.
Have you seen that goat yoga?
Yes.
Oh, I want to try that one day.
So at festivals they do yoga and they bring goats.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would go there just for that.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. I really want to, but like having a little baby goat, like climbing over you,
that would be so much fun.
Oh my god,
I'm down. If you want to go,
oh my god, let
me know.
Okay, we'll plan it. We'll find somewhere. Heck yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to share or like tell the audience?
You know, I think for me culturally, like, it's been hard to kind of speak up about certain things. Just with the Pakistani culture, you're supposed to respect your elders. What they say is final, even if it's wrong. So I think like growing up, like as a kid, you kind of have to, you feel like you have to, you know, respect the authority. But if something is not being done right, like, I hope that people would have the courage and the bravery, the strength to like speak up against that kind of stuff, because there's just certain things that go on that is just wrong, like the double standards and women have to be this way or that way, you know, like just speak up for what's right and live your best life.
Yeah, I agree with that. My mom was very much of like my way or the highway. Like what I say doesn't matter, even if she was completely off and going through her episodes. And so for a while I just, well, like also something was hard, like pick your battles. Like if it's not that important, just like let it be so we don't have to go through a whole thing with it. And for a while that made me not want to say anything because I felt like, oh, if I say something it's going to cause problems for everyone.
Right.
But then you have to, like, at some point you have to stand up for yourself and say something, or people are just gonna walk all over you.
Definitely.
Every time, you know.
Yeah. No, growing up, my dad, he used to always tell me, he's like, don't talk back to me. It's like, I'm just talking to you, you know, like, so don't be afraid to speak up for what you think is right. You know, conversation is important. So yeah. I'm glad I'm a little sassy. So that's why I'm happy my girls are sassy. Like, I would do it anyways. They're not going to take
shit from anybody.
No. It's like, I'm just talking to you. You are actually wrong in this situation. So, yeah, no. It's a good thing to be able to stand up for yourself and what you think is right. So don't let anybody pull you down.
Yeah. thank you for spending time and chatting with me.
Of course. Thank you. I'm going to get some more wine before we're done.
Yes. Here, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Oh, mercy. Let me not. I'm a little clumsy too, so I don't want
Ian spilt the wine everywhere. That was actually hilarious.
Rude. Not the wine.
I'll take a little more.
Yeah. See if I can pour this. Ooh. Is that good?
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. What are some things you're excited to see, like, on milestones for your girls?
Oh,
that they haven't
reached it yet? Shoot. Well, school is going to be a big one. I'm not necessarily excited, but they are very excited. Mm-hmm. So that makes me happy because they're already talking about, I want to go to school, you know? Mm-hmm. We've been looking into that. We were going to start Scarlett this year, but Gia is not old enough yet for preschool. So we're going to wait next year because I cannot go through that conversation every day why she can't go and her sister can go. It's like, no, that's going to break my heart. I can't. So we're going to wait till they're both old enough and they're going to start school. And they're going to go in their little backpacks.
They're like overly sized backpacks.
Yeah. Never the roller ones. I will not do that to my kids, no. Unless they want it. That was something my dad was like, it's too hard on your back. You need a roller backpack. I was like, Dad, that's not cool.
You're like, no. Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, that's a big one. And then I think it'll be really interesting when they get to the dating phase. I'm very excited to see how my husband reacts to all of this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, for you.
Yes.
To see Ian being like stressing out, getting the gray hairs.
Yeah. I feel like I might be a little bit more strict, but I trust them. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you're raising your kids right, then you don't have anything to worry about. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited for those things.
I know. Like with your guys' kids, my friend, her nieces, like just all getting so big, and I'm like, wait, what the heck? I remember when you guys were pregnant. Like now we're like two. Oh
now there's two of them.
Oh my god! Like,
I know. It's crazy. I say that every year on their birthday. I was like, you were just born yesterday. Like it's crazy.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't have kids, so I don't understand the full effect of like time passes so quickly. But even as an adult, like my life, I'm like, oh my god, today's October 1st. Like we're already done with, like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. It felt like it was New Year's yesterday, and now it's almost Christmas, and then New Year's again. It's like as you grow up, the time just goes faster and faster. When you're a kid, it's just like, oh, when's my birthday again?
You're like,
you know?
Oh, Christmas and birthday.
Yeah.
Like, and then if you got the tooth fairy, like, what did they leave me in?
Right, right. Oh, man, it's just a candy, you know?
It's fine.
Yeah. No, there's some things to look forward to. There's always something to look forward to, but those are probably like the two things I think will be very interesting. Mm-hmm. Big milestones for them.
Oh, well, I'm just excited for you guys.
Yeah.
Congrats. One was really cool to, like, I've known Ian before, got to know you through film and all that, and then like seeing your guys' wedding, your two girls.
Yeah. It's really a lot of change. We want more people to have more babies.
He was telling me that last time. He's like, you guys need to hurry
I'm not trying to put that on other people, but at the same time, it's like, it's hard when it's COVID and you don't want to take your kids to the playground and stuff because of germs. And it's easier when you know people who have kids because you're like, okay, I know what they're doing. I know they're taking precautions, but you go to a public space and you're like, I don't know who's been here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the reason why. If it wasn't COVID, I feel like we wouldn't care as much.
Yeah.
Just take them anywhere.
Yeah, COVID has definitely changed a lot of things, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
No,
this was fun.
I really enjoyed our conversation. If you
too.
ever want to come back, let me know.
Yeah, I'll figure out something else I've struggled with in life and, come and share.
Cool. Yeah. Well, again, thanks, guys, for tuning into another episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this conversation for sure. Learned a lot. Yeah,
it was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll put the wine in the link.
Buy it, guys. It's really good.
Yeah, if you like sweet wine, this one's a highly recommended. Mm-hmm. Really, really good. I definitely would have wanted this like during like a full brunch with a charcuterie board.
Mm-hmm. The little like bread, cream cheese,
yes,
smoked salmon.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to have that when we do goat yoga.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll make it a day.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.